Underlying all meditation techniques, including the martial arts, and in fact, underlying all great athletic performances, is a quality of being awake and present to the moment, a quality that Osho calls awareness. Once we can identify and understand what this quality of awareness is, we have the key to self-mastery in virtually every area of our lives. According to the great masters like Lao Tzu or Buddha, most of us move through our lives like sleepwalkers, never really present in what we are doing, never fully aware or alert to our environment, and not even aware of what motivates us to do and say the things we do. And at the same time, all of us have experienced moments of awareness or awakening. To use another word, in extraordinary circumstances, on the road, in a sudden and unexpected accident, we welcoming a new baby into the world for the first time. Being with someone at the moment of death, when we are aware of every moment, every sound, and every thought. Awareness, says Osho, is the key to being self-directed, centered, and free in every aspect of our lives. So in this podcast, Osho and myself will come together and teach you how to live life more attentively, more mindfully, and meditatively, with love, caring, and consciousness. These wise words come off of the back of the book called Awareness by Osho, the key to living life in balance. And I'd love to share my thoughts and Osho's thoughts together, and we'll read out of this book and share some beautiful insights from a great master. But anyway, my name is Douglas Grumans, and unfortunately, this might be one of my last podcasts off of this PC. The PC is getting a little bit old, and the hard drive is every once in a while crashing on me and causing a whole bunch of havoc. But anyway, maybe God will bless me with a new laptop, and I can keep making these podcasts. But just be forewarned, if you don't hear from me in a little while, don't be worried. It's just gathering what I need to get together to be able to bring these podcasts to you. Before we continue with the book, I share a few moments of my life with you. On my birthday this year, October, we went to visit Southern California, and we stayed a week in San Clemente. And it's kind of a legend, or almost like a joke, if you want to say. But a lot of times when I get in the water, the waves will get better. Don't know why it happens or how it happens, or maybe I just wait and sit around or figure out the best times to go surfing. But anyway, there's a legend that's grown around me that people call me the wave whisperer, where like I said, I'll get near the water, even if there's no waves at all. Sometimes I get in the water just to play, and all of a sudden waves come up out of nowhere. But anyway, it's kind of a joke. But the joke continued on, because when we got to California, there was hurricane surf. A hurricane came close to shore in Mexico, and then it went back out to sea, and then circled back around and started heading towards the Southern California coast. Anyway, so we had 2 days of 2 to 3 foot overhead, sometimes double overhead waves at San Onofre, and it was a little bit much at first, because we bought used surfboards instead of bringing our own surfboards to California. And it was hard to get used to the new board. It was I bought a Iron Cross, and it was a super high performance, very thin longboard, and I knew I could handle it, and I knew I could it'd work really well. And I didn't know much about the shaper, but from the way the board was shaped itself, I figured I could ride it really well. And we did, and I had to go to Dana Point and Doheny State Park, and it was about shoulder to head high, so it was pretty good size for that break. And I was nailing them. It took me 2 or 3 ways before I could figure out how to really bottom turn the board the right way and everything. But once I got it, it was like riding a shortboard. The board was so great; it was so much fun. And Val had a good time. We bought her a Stewart competition model surfboard, and she had a great time at Doheny. And we met up with a fellow that I met through work, and he took us to all the breaks and showed us around and showed us what life was like in Southern California, and we really enjoyed it. And the funny thing was, it had not rained in Southern California for 6 months. Then I show up and bring a whole day and a half of rain, and normally I hear when it rains in Southern California, you don't go surfing after it rains because a lot of the toxins from the upland inland come down and wash into the ocean, and it kind of gets the water dirty. So a lot of people don't surf right after a rainstorm. But I'm from Galveston, and every time a rainstorm comes, it turns our water shit brown, nasty brown looking color, and they call that G-Town brown. But anyway, I guess I just wanted to share that with you, a marker in my life. So when I one day read back over or look back over these podcasts, and I'm listening to myself, I can remind myself of the great time that Val and I had in Southern California. So today's podcast, we're going to mix Eastern thought with Western thought. We're going to experiment with what Jesus meant by the cross. And when I say that, what Jesus meant by the cross, what I'm saying is that he talked about the cross long before he had even thought about crucifixion or sacrificing himself. And I want to explain what he meant by the cross. When he said to everybody, you must bear your own cross. I want to share with these words of Osho's about awareness, and describe to you what I feel that Jesus meant by bearing your own cross. So here we are on page 29 of the book Awareness, The Key to Living in Balance. And Osho shares with us, when you are in the present without thinking, you are for the first time spiritual. A new dimension opens. A dimension is awareness. Because you have not known that dimension, Harticulus will say you are asleep. You are not aware. Awareness means to be in the moment so totally that there is no movement toward the past and no movement toward the future. All movement stops. That doesn't mean that you become static, though. A new movement starts, a movement in depth. There are two types of movement, and that is the meaning of Jesus' cross. It shows two movements, a crossroads. One movement is linear. You move in a line from one thing to another, and from one thought to another, and from one dream to another. From A you move to B, and from B you move to C, and C you move to D. In this way you move in a line, a horizontal line. This is the movement of time. This is the movement of one who is fast asleep. You can go like a shuttle back and forth. The line is there. You can come from B to A, or you can go from A to B. The line is there. There is another movement, which is in a totally different dimension. That movement is not horizontal, it is vertical. You don't go from A to B or B to C. You go from A to a deeper A, from A1 to A2, from A3 to A4 in depth or in height. When thinking stops, the new movement starts. Now you fall into depth, in an abyss phenomenon. People who are meditating deeply, they come to a point sooner or later, then they become afraid because they feel as if an abyss has opened, a bottomless abyss, and you feel dizzy. You become afraid. You would like to cling to the old movement because it was known, and this feels like death. And that is the meaning of Jesus' cross. It is a death. Going from the horizontal to the vertical is death. That is the real death. But it is a death only from one side. On the other side, it is a resurrection. It is a dying in order to be born. It is dying from one dimension to be born in another dimension. Horizontal, you are Jesus. Vertical, you become a Christ. If you move from one thought to another, you remain in the world of time. If you move into the moment, not into thought, you move into eternity. You are not static. Nothing is static in this world. Nothing can be static. But a new movement arises, a movement without motivation. Remember these words. On the horizontal line, you move because of motivation. You have to achieve something, money, prestige, power, or God, but you have to achieve something. A motivation is there. A motivated movement means sleep. An unmotivated movement means awareness. You move because to move is sheer joy. You move because movement is life. You move because life is energy and energy is movement. You move because energy is delight, not for anything else. There is no goal to it. You are not after some achievement. In fact, you are not going anywhere. You are not going at all. You are simply delighting in the energy. And there is no goal outside the movement itself. Movement has its own intrinsic value, no extrinsic value. A Buddha also lives, a Hercules lives, and I am here living, breathing, but with a different type of movement, unmotivated. Somebody was asking me a few days ago, why do you help people in meditation? And I told him, this is my delight. There is no why to it. I simply enjoy. Just as a person enjoys planting seeds in the garden, waiting for the flowers. When you flower, I enjoy it. It is gardening. When somebody flowers, it is sheer delight, and I share. There is no goal to it. If you fail, I am not going to be frustrated. And if you don't flower, that is okay. Because flowering cannot be forced. You cannot open a bud forcibly. You can, but then you kill it. It may look like a flowering, but it is not a flowering. I want to step out of the context in for a second and say that's very deep. Just think about that. There's no way you can force a flower to bud, but you can nourish it. You can love it. You can give it plenty of sunshine and water it often and do things to help it to open. And that's what a master does. A master does everything he can do to help you to flower. But it's gentle. It's subtle. It's not direct. It's up to you to flower. Anyway, back to the book. Osho continues on by saying the whole world moves. Existence moves into eternity. Mind moves into time. Existence is moving into the depth and the height. And mind moves backward and forward. Mind moves horizontally, and that is sleep. If you can move vertically, that is awareness. And stepping out of the book real quickly here, when you move into the vertical plane and step out of time, and you are actually stepping out of time because you're living completely present in the present moment. The energy is both. It goes in both directions at the same time. As if the same happens on a horizontal plane. Your energy can go towards the future or towards the past. You just direct which way you want to go, but it's kind of reaching in both directions at the same time. And the same happens with the vertical. When you meditate or become to a moment where you have complete silence and stillness within yourself, then the energy goes down and it goes up in the same proportion. And the farther down it goes, the higher up it can go. In other words, the roots of a tree have to go deeper and deeper into the earth so that the branches can go higher and higher up into the sky. And that's what we are doing continually when we meditate or when we participate in athletic endeavors that bring stillness and awareness to our souls. Anyway, back to the book. And Osho continues on by saying, be in the moment. Bring your total being into the moment. And don't allow the past to interfere, and don't allow the future to come into the past. The past is no more. It is dead. And as Jesus says, let the dead bury their dead. The past is no more. Why are you worried about it? Why do you go on chewing it again and again and again? Are you mad? It is no more. It is just in your mind. It is just a memory. The future is not yet. So what are you doing thinking about the future, which is not yet? And how can you think about it? What can you plan about it? Whatsoever you do about it is not going to happen. And then you'll be frustrated because the whole has its own plan. Why do you try to have your own plans against it? The existence has its own plans. It is wiser than you. The whole has to be wiser than the part. Why are you pretending to be the whole? The whole has its own destiny, its own fulfillment. Why do you bother about it? And whatsoever you do, you will be in a sin because you will be missing the moment, this moment, and it becomes a habit. As it becomes, if you start missing, it becomes a habitual form. And when the future has come again, you will be missing it because it will not be a future when it comes. It will be the present. So yesterday you were thinking about today because then it was tomorrow. Now it is today and you're thinking about tomorrow. And when the tomorrow comes, it will become a today. Because anything that exists here and now. It cannot exist otherwise. And if you have a fixed mode of functioning, which such as your mind always looks at tomorrow, then when will you live? Tomorrow never comes. When will you go on missing? And this is sin. This is the meaning of the Hebrew word of to sin. The moment the future enters, time enters, and you have sinned against existence. You have missed, and this has become a fixed pattern, robot-like. You go on missing. Stepping out of the book for a second. Again, the Hebrew word sin just meant to miss, to be absent, to be not in the present moment. A little bit different connotation than what the priests are telling you and what society is telling you, but it really means just to be absent, not to be, to miss the target. Literally, meaning to miss the target. So anyway, if you're living your life with most of your thoughts either on some other subject or never really in the present moment, it's not too hard to just kind of focus a little and concentrate on just being there in the present moment, to be aware of everything that's surrounding you, and just slow it down a little bit and take it all in and be aware and absorb what you can, and try to narrow those thoughts down to just being, just existing, and eventually you can do it without any thought at all. And then the jump happens, the jump from the horizontal to the vertical. I like to use an example of like two rubber bands twisted together. And there's a little tension knot. If you have a rubber band going vertically and a rubber band going horizontal, making a cross, in the middle it forms a knot. So directly in the dead center between the past and the future lies a very thin line, and it's called the present moment. And that present moment is where you exist continually. But you're spreading yourself out. And if you can focus and bring your attention in together and bring everything into the present moment, your awareness, your being, your body, your soul, your mind, your consciousness, everything that exists into that present moment, then the leap occurs, the leap to the vertical. And the leap to the vertical is beautiful, because then also that's when you start working on your chakras and your energy centers and growing spiritually. But don't be afraid of it. Every meditator, I've had even close friends who have meditated before, they got scared when they faced the abyss of darkness and the depth. The depth is an abyss. It is continually non-ending. It continues forever into nothingness. Just as the universe outside looks like it continues into nothingness forever. So your consciousness on the inside is the same. It has that same depth. It has to have the same depth. I think it has to have even a greater depth than the universe's depth of nothingness. But never be afraid of it. Absorb it, because at the same time, your energy is focusing upwards to greater heights, to newer heights, where you can soar through the sky, you can soar through the universe and soar through your existence, full of bliss and full of love and full of joy, and it's just it's an incredible feeling. It's an amazing feeling to be able to experience bliss, and that jump from the horizontal to the vertical is also the day you become enlightened. When 51% of your energy, 51% of your body learns to be into the present moment, then the jump happens. It's a democratic shift within yourself, and once 51% goes, then the rest of it just follows. It's an amazing jump. It's an amazing experience, and I hope one day you experience it for yourself. So I'm going to share a few more words out of this book, Awareness, The Key to Living in Balance by Osho. Osho says on page 33, so remember one thing. Whenever you realize that you have gone to the past or into the future, don't create a problem out of it. Simply come to the present. Not creating any problem, it's okay. Simply bring back your awareness. You will miss millions of times. It is not going to happen right now, immediately. It can happen, but it cannot happen because of you. It is such a long fixed mode of behavior, and that you cannot change it right now. But don't worry, existence is not in a hurry. Eternity can wait eternally. Don't create a tension about it. Whenever you feel you have missed, come back. That's all. Don't feel guilty. That's a trick of the mind. Now it is again playing a game. Don't repeat or repent. I again forgot. Just when you think, come back to whatsoever you are doing. Taking your bath, come back. Eating your food, come back. Going for a walk, come back. The movement you feel you are not here and now, then come back. Simply, innocently, don't create guilt. If you become guilty, then you'll miss the point. And there is sin, and there is no guilt. But that's difficult for you. If you feel there is something wrong, you become immediately guilty. The mind is very cunning. If you become guilty, the game has started now, on new ground. But the game is old. People come to me and they say, we go on forgetting. They are so sad when they say, we go on forgetting. We try to remember, but only for a few seconds. We remain alert, self-remembering, then again, it is lost. So what to do? Nothing can be done. It is not a question of doing at all. What can you do? The only thing that can be done is not to create guilt. Simply come back. The more you come back, simply remember, not with a serious face, not with much effort, simply, innocently, not creating a problem out of it. Because eternity has no problems. All problems exist on the horizontal plane. The problem will also exist on the horizontal plane. The vertical plane knows no problems. It is sheer delight, without any anxiety, without any anguish, without any worry or any guilt. Nothing. Be simple and come back. And you will miss many times. It is taken for granted, but don't worry about it. That is how it is. You will miss many times, but that is not the point. Don't pay much attention to the fact that you have missed many times. Pay much attention to the fact that you have regained many times. And remember this, the emphasis should not be that you missed many times. It should be that you regained remembrance many times. So feel happy about it. That you miss, of course, as it should be. You are human, and you have lived on the horizontal plane for many lives. So it is natural. The beauty is that many times you come back, and you have done the impossible. Feel happy about it. In 24 hours, and 24,000 times you will miss, but 24,000 times you will regain. Now a new mode will start functioning. So many times you will come back home, and now a new dimension is breaking in. And by, more and more, you will be able to stay in awareness, and less you'll go back and forth in time. The span of going back and forth will be smaller and smaller, less and less, and you'll forget more and more about what you will remember. You are entering the vertical. Suddenly, one day, the horizontal just disappears, and intensity comes to awareness, and the horizontal disappears. So just take these words in, take these thoughts in that I've shared with you. Enjoy them, embrace them. Don't be afraid of them. I know it's going to be scary facing the abyss or trying to live in the present moment. There's so much going on around you, and you have so many worries and so many other things to care about. And to take a moment to yourself and just stop and center yourself and then bring awareness into whatever you're doing. It's a little different quality than just doing something without awareness and just doing it mechanically out of the mind. Doing something with awareness brings in a different quality to what you're doing. It brings enjoyment and bliss into what you're doing. So I know these are Eastern thoughts mixed with Western thought, but don't be afraid of it. Embrace it and enjoy your life. Thank you again for joining me. My name is Douglas Grummins, and I guess this is probably about podcast 50 something. I don't know. Hopefully the computer won't crash and I'll be able to bring you some more podcasts. But anyway, thank you again one more time for joining me. Take care of yourselves.